Welcome back, everybody, to another Thursday night shir on the Parsha of the week. This week's Parsha is Vayishlach, and we're going to do as we have in the past with a commentary of the Orach Chaim HaKadosh. The Orach Chaim HaKadosh wrote a very powerful commentary on Chumash. Many people will make it their business to study the Orach Chaim HaKadosh a whole week and make sure that they see all the Orach Chaims on the Parsha because of their tremendous insight and all the beautiful things that the Orach Chaim HaKadosh shares with us. So we'll see a couple of things tonight. And there's actually something that we say every time we bench that I want to talk about this evening. At the end of our benching, we have three brachos for benching, which are Mideh Oraisa, biblically commanded. The fourth bracha of Hatov HaMeitiv is rabbinic bracha that was instituted a little bit later. And then at the end, we have some harachamans, and we have some nice requests that we ask. And one of the last things that we say is bakol mikol kol, that from all things ken yavarech osanu. The same way Hashem blessed Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov with everything, Hashem should always bless us. Now, the words that we say that Hashem blessed Abraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, bakol, with all, mikol, from all, kol, with all, and all. It's a very strange way of expressing that we should have the same bracha that Yaakov, Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov had. So the first question that we're going to ask on our terminology that we use during benching is, why do we say this three type language of bakol, mikol, kol, which all means kol, all, everything that Hashem blessed them with, we want to be blessed with too. That's the question number one. Obviously, that is not directly related to the parsha per se, the question, but it'll tie in very simply, as you'll see a little bit later. The next question that we have to address is Vayishlach Yaakov Malachim. Okay, let's take a look. I'll share with you the screen so we can see the psukim inside, and then we will see exactly what is going on over here. So in this week's parsha, we start off with Parshas Vayishlach. That Yaakov has left the house of Lavan, and it's time for him to go back to Israel, back to Eretz Yisrael, and he knows that Esav is on his way, so he sends messengers to go ahead and give Esav a gift, or it's quite a large gift, in fact. And he meets Esav and has this interaction with him. First, he wrestles with the angel, and then he has this meeting. He gets hit in his thigh, and then he meets Esav himself, and everything seems to have worked out in the end. At the beginning of the parsha, it says, Vayishlach Yaakov Malachim, and Yaakov sent Malachim lefanav, ahead of him, El Esav Achim, to his brother Esav, Arza Seir Sedei Edom, to the land of Seir, the field or the country of Edom. So now, the word that the Torah uses of who Yaakov sent to bring this gift to his brother Esav was Malachim. As you see in the English over here, they translate that as messengers, and many times we find that the word Malachim can be translated as a messenger. However, at the same time, the most simple understanding of the word malachim is angels. And it would seem that Yishlach Yaakov malachim, that Yaakov sent angels as the messengers to his brother. Now, this happens to be a machlokes. The Medrash Rabbah brings a discussion. What did Yaakov use, or who did Yaakov use to send as a messenger to his brother? Was it actual angels, or was it people? Now, the question is as follows. Firstly, if it was people, so then why does it use the terminology of malachim? It says Vayishlach Yaakov Anashim, people. Why does it say malachim? If we're actually talking about people, then why would we bother using the terminology that could possibly be mistaken and think we're talking about angels? Question number one. And on the flip side, it's really the same problem, but on the flip side, the other opinion that says that Yaakov actually sent angels, the question is like this. We know that things aren't like, there's no free tickets, so to speak, in this world. And if good things happen in a repeated way, the Chovas Halavavos, the Rabbeinu Bechaya, is one of his greatest svarim that he wrote, called the Chovas Halavavos, duties of the heart. He says that, you know what a person has to always consider? He has to consider that things are going well for him, and maybe Hashem is like paying him in this world, which is a bad thing. We don't want Hashem to pay us in this world. We want to get paid in the next world, because that's where that's the best of everything. So anything good we do, any kindness that we do, and any positive mitzvah that we fulfill, and so on, and every negative thing that we avoid, all those things mount up to merits. And if for whatever reason God says about a person that he should be paid in this world. So then Hashem takes those merits and says, okay, I'm going to take some of those merits and I'm going to spend them on you in this world. And oftentimes when a person experiences a tremendous, tremendous miracle, there's always a concern. You have to wonder, maybe Hashem is making, spending some of my merits. So why would Yaakov use angels, which is clearly a miraculous thing? Why would he use angels and potentially risk using or spending, so to speak, his zechosim, his merits? That's not worth it. They want to send a messenger to your brother, use people. That's much easier. There's no merits involved. You want to rely on this tremendous miracle that you're having angels go and take this gift to your brother? What's the point? Why would you go ahead and do that? Doesn't seem like a good idea. That's the next question we have to ask ourselves. Now, to get started, we're going to see a Gemara, and this Gemara is a Gemara in Bava Basra. Take a look at this Gemara. Tanu Rabbanan. Our rabbis taught. Shlosha, there are three people. Hit iman hakadosh baruch hu ba'olam hazeh. Hashem, that Hashem gave them in this world. He gave them a taste. Ta'am, the word hit iman is gave them a taste in this world. Me'ein ha'olam haba. Almost a bit of the taste of the next world. So Hashem gave three people in this world. He gave them a taste of what it would be like in the next world. Who are these three people? Elohein, and they are Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov are forefathers. Living in this world, they experienced somewhat Olam Haba, the next world. Now, where do we see this from? Abraham dechsiv bei bakol. When Abraham, it's because it says regarding him bakol. We'll see the psukim, each individual pasuk momentarily. We'll go through the Chumash and see all these psukim. That's Abraham. Yitzchak dechsiv bei mikol. And Yitzchak, because it says about him from all, which we'll see that pasuk as well. And Yaakov dechsiv bei kol. And Yaakov, because it says all. So now, first thing we have to understand is, what is this word all? Kol. All these words all. Every time it's bakol, mikol, and kol. Now, this already should be hinting to you about what we talked about. The first question we asked regarding what we say in benching, that God should bench us. He should bless us the same way he blesses Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Bakol, mikol, kol. These are those words, bakol, mikol, and kol. So we're going to get to these and understand what does this word mean and where was this even said. So now, let's analyze each individual, Abraham alone, Yitzchak alone, Yaakov alone, and that we can build the whole picture together. So the first pasuk is in Bereshis 24:1, Genesis 24:1. That brings us over here. Now, what happened up until now? This is in the Torah's Parshas Chayei Sarah. Abraham Avinu just lost his wife. He had to haggle with Ephron, who was a real crafty guy, and he had to haggle with him to buy a burial plot for his wife. Finally, after buying Ma'aras HaMachpelah, he's able to bury his wife. And what does the Torah say? The Avraham Zakein Baba Yavim. Abraham was old, coming in his years. The Hashem Berach es Abraham Bakol. And Hashem blessed him with everything. Now, it sounds like a little bit of an interesting place. Like, wow, this means right here, Hashem says, you know what, Abraham, I want you to taste what the next world is like. I want you to get a little bit of a taste of the next world. That's what the Gemara is telling us. When it says the word bakol right here, Abraham dechsiv bei bakol, that's our pasuk. Abraham zakim ba'bayom Hashem berach es Abraham bakol. Right here in this moment in Abraham's life, he's getting a taste of the next world. Now, I don't think that's the right kind of taste of the next world people want, right? His wife died. He's suffering a tremendous loss. He had to fight for and negotiate for a burial plot. This is the taste of the next world. Seems to be odd. What exactly is taste of the next world? Where does that taste come in? How does that feeling manifest in this situation right here? That's the first thing. Okay, we'll have to get back to Abraham. Let's take a look at Yitzchak. Yitzchak is on his bed. He's blind. He can't see very well. And he tells his son Esav, I want to give you the blessings that my father Abraham gave me. I want to pass them down to you. His wife Rivka hears and says to her son Yaakov, Yaakov, you cannot let Esav get those blessings. You have to go and get those blessings instead. Says, Ma, what should I do? Says, you're going to dress up like your brother, and you're going to go in, and your father's going to give you the brothers. He tells his mother, you sure it's a good idea? She says, don't worry, anything bad that your father might say, it'll be on me. I got your back. You go do this. Yaakov listens to his mother. He goes in, he takes the blessings, and he leaves. And just as he leaves, right? Just as he leaves, Vayehi kasher kilo Yitzchak levarech es Yaakov. It was just as Yaakov finished, Yitzchak finished giving Yaakov the blessings. Vayehi ach yatzo Yaakov meis pnei Yitzchak avim. It was like, the revolving doors. Yitzchak is going out, it's revolving one way. Yitzchak is going out, and Yaakov is going out, and Esav is coming in. Esav comes into the door. Right? They come in one door, and he goes out one door, and Esav comes in the other door. And Esav makes food for his father, and he goes to Yitzchak, and he says, "Father, get up, come." And his father says, "Wait a minute, who are you?" And he says, "I'm your firstborn son, Esav." And Vayecherad Yitzchak charada gedola ad me'od. Yitzchak is terrified. He says, "Oh my gosh, what did I do?" Vayomer, and he says, "The Eifo hu hatzad sayid, who was the one that went hunting? Vayaveli, and he brought me the food. Va'achol mikol, and he ate and he served me everything. B'terem tavo, before you came. Va'avarechehu, and I blessed him. Gam baruch here, he should be blessed." Now, at this moment, right, here's this word mikol, which again, our Gemara, the one Gemara that we're focusing on, says Yitzchak tichsev bei mikol is 27:33. Here we are, 27:33, and it says Va'achol mikol, and I ate from all his stuff. And here, where Yitzchak has this terrible fear, maybe I messed up, maybe my son tricked me, and I gave it to the wrong son. I was supposed to give the blessings to Esav, and Yaakov tricked me. He finds out afterwards, he hears the conversation, that the words coming out of Esav's mouth, and Esav says, "Yeah, he tricked me twice. I sold him the firstborn rights, and he stole my blessings." And to that, Yitzchak said, "Oh, he bought the firstborn. He deserved the blessings. It all worked out in the end." But at this moment, Yitzchak didn't know that. And Yitzchak's terrified. What have I done? He made a terrible mistake. And Hashem says, Yitzchak, don't worry. I got a present for you. Now's the time to really enjoy. I want you to feel like you're enjoying the next world. Mikol, right here this is the point in time that Yitzchak says, that Hashem says to Yitzchak, "I'm going to give you a taste of what the next world is like." What is going on? This also doesn't seem to be such a very positive interaction, a very exciting moment. Yitzchak getting married. Oh, okay, what an exciting experience in life. He has 2 children, another exciting experience. These things aren't the times where he feels and he tastes the next world. So what's going on? Okay, so now we're stuck with a question for Yitzchak too. Let's take a look at Yaakov, and then we'll close it all off. Yaakov, the pasuk is, we'll go 33:11, Genesis 33:11. Got to scroll back down, and Perek Lamed Gimel, pasuk Yud Aleph. And here we know that Yaakov has just had an interaction with the Malach, and he's then has his first time in 20 years that he's seeing his brother, 22 years that he's seeing his brother. And Vayomer, and his brother tells him, "Mi lecha kol hamachane hazeh asher pagashti." Says, "What's all this whole camp that I've met? You've sent so much in front of me." Vayomer, and Yaakov says to his brother Esav, "Limtzo chen be'enei Adoni. I sent it to you. I want to find favor in your eyes. It's a gift for you." Vayomer Esav, "Yeshli Rav. I got everything. Achi, my brother, I have everything. Yeah, lecha shalach. Keep what's yours. You don't have to give me such a big present. It's yours, please." Esav says, "I got plenty. I don't need your stuff." Yomer Yaakov, and Yaakov says, "Alma, no, please don't. If I find favor in your eyes, and you'll take this gift that I've given you. Now that I finally have the opportunity to see your face, it's like seeing the face of God, and it's if you take this gift, I see that I've been accepted favorably." And Yaakov finishes off his statement and says, please take my gift, asher hu vaslach, that it was given to you. And you know what? Don't worry. Don't feel like I'm losing something. Ki chanani Elokim, Hashem has blessed me. V'chi yesh li kol, I have everything. And Yaakov urged and encouraged Esav to take, and finally Esav acquiesced and said, "Okay, I'll take the gift." Now, in this experience with Yaakov and Esav, the first time in 22 years, Yaakov is terrified for his life. What did he do in the beginning of the parasha? He split up his camp. He says, "Esav's going to kill me. He's ready to murder me. After everything that he feels I've done to him, he was running after me. That's why I ran away to begin with. He's coming with 400 men. He is ready to destroy me." And here in this instance where Yaakov is facing his fear, Esav, he's on guard, who knows what's going to happen. And again, it says, Chiyeshli kol, I have everything. Hashem says, oh, hey, Yaakov, I want you to feel like you've tasted the next world. Right here, again, in such an odd place, it seems that the Gemara is telling us at three different junctures, Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, each of them experienced what the next world was like in a very odd situation, something very down or negative. So what are we supposed to understand from this? Now, here's where the Orach Chaim comes in. The Orach Chaim HaKadosh tells us an unbelievable idea. And I'm sorry that I can't show it to you on the screen. I'm not sure why the page wasn't loading, but here it is. It says the Orach Chaim HaKadosh. It's on this pasuk Yud Aleph. It says, Od Yirmos Be'amro Kol. There's a remez to the word Kol. Shehi Bechinas HaKedusha. That's an aspect of purity, of holiness. Shenikra as Kol. That's called all. Bechinas Zu, what does this mean? Keshatihi Museges Ba'adam. When a person attains such a level of what's called Kol, of having everything, Ein Hachisaron, no loss is recognizable. Oser Roshem leaves a limit. V'achaser nishla me'atzmo. And that which is missing is automatically fulfilled. Just like Bnei Yisrael were blessed, that we should be like the sand. The same way if you scoop out a handful of sand from the beach, what happens instantly is more sand just automatically fills. And it looks like nothing was ever taken. It all just falls right in. The sand always just fills in any gaps that are there. So therefore, just like sand is like the blessing that Bnei Yisrael, the Jewish people, are like sand, that anything that gets taken away automatically gets refilled. That's the idea of kol, of all. That no matter what gets taken, it automatically gets refilled. V'hi birchas kol, the ayin mashapira. He says, I explained this in other places. Ubrachazu, this blessing, zacha bo kol ha'avos. It's all the forefathers that merited this blessing. Abraham bakol, which is the pasuk that we saw over here. Abraham bakol. Yitzchak mikol. Yitzchak was over here, mikol. And then Yaakov is our pasuk over here, kol, in this week's parsha. The zehu soda, this is the hidden understanding of what's going on over here. So when Yaakov over here is telling Esav, Yeshli kol, he wasn't just saying, I have everything I need. He was saying, since I have attained such a spiritual level of kol, even giving you these items, whatever I give you, my loss will automatically be made up. there will not be any notice of a loss because it will automatically be refilled. And I'll tell you a story, an unbelievable story about Rabbi Yosef Chaim Sonnenfeld. Rabbi Yosef Chaim Sonnenfeld was the rabbi of the old Yishuv in Yerushalayim. Okay, before the standing the state of Israel, there were still Jews that lived in Eretz Yisrael, and Rabbi Yosef Chaim Sonnenfeld was the rabbi. Now, he was a very busy man, and very often poor people would come to him and deliver money and to give out to, poor people would come to him and he would give out the money to help them. And sometimes wealthy people would come, and when they would see that Rabbi Yosef Chaim Sonnenfeld lived in such poverty, they would turn to Rabbi Yosef Chaim Sonnenfeld and they would take the money, like the check that they had. So you see this check for $10,000? They would tear it in half and throw it out. And take a new check, $5,000, and they would write it to Rabbi Yosef Chaim Sonnenfeld. These $5,000 for you. And then they write the $5,000 is for the other poor people. So you need money too, Rabbi Yosef Chaim Sonnenfeld. Rabbi Yosef Chaim Sonnenfeld would refuse. He would never take money for himself. Anytime a person gave money for him, Rabbi Yosef Chaim Sonnenfeld would immediately give it away to poor people. So now you might ask, well, what did he do? How did he survive? So it is said, and his wife would tell him every time his wife opened the cupboard and said, we don't have any food left. She would go to her husband, Rabbi Yosef Chaim Sonnenfeld, and says, my dear husband, we have no food. He says, okay, give me a few minutes. He would go out for a walk, and invariably, every time he would go out for a walk around the block, he would find $100 lying. Let's say it was in Israel, so he'd find 100 shekel lying on the ground. He'd pick up the 100 shekel. He would go to his wife and say to his wife, "Here you go. Go buy all the groceries that you need," which was more than enough. And you see how Rabbi Yosef Chaim Sonnenfeld kind of lived in like this different world. It sounds like magic, right? And this is, to a degree, it's not magic, obviously. It's a spiritual level that was attained by Rabbi Yosef Chaim Sonnenfeld, that he knew that this would happen. And the understanding of why that happened is this blessing of kol. of everything. Rav Moshe Feinstein says that a person who attains a level of spirituality that recognizes that when the sun comes up in the morning, it's just as miraculous as the splitting of the sea. And when the sun sets in the evening, it's just as miraculous as the 10 plagues. When a person can be so in touch with Hashem and realize so clearly that the smallest aspect of nature, the fact that a blade of grass grew a few inches and is no smaller of a miracle than the 10 plagues and the splitting of the sea, than the sun stopping in Yehoshua's battle, and any of these things, any of the greatest miracles that we can imagine. If a person understands that nature and everything around us is just as much of a miracle, so then he lives in a different world than the rest of us. You and I'm sorry, I shouldn't speak for you. I can say me. I wake up in the morning and I see the sun. If I don't see the sun, well, the truth is, I wake up in the morning, I don't see the sun. It's too early, okay? You probably all wake up very early and you also don't see the sun, right? Most of my day is indoors and I don't get much sun time. But when I get outside, at some point, I expect to see the sun. And I don't even think about it. I know that it's going to be there. And I know that, God willing, I'm going to wake up tomorrow. It's not like this major miracle to me. If I were to see the Yam Suf split, wow, that would be an unbelievable miracle to me. But that's a problem for me. That's a mistake on my part, because really those are two equal miracles. So a person who lives, what Rav Moshe Feinstein calls a shalem, a person who's so complete that he understands that everything around him is from Hashem, and therefore even the sun coming up and every breath we take is just as much of a miracle as the splitting of the sea. Such a person is in an entirely different plane. Now, such a person who experiences bad things, so to speak, negative interactions in his life, it won't throw him off a bit. It won't change anything about him. And his composure will be exactly the same. When the Torah tells us that Yaakov in this week's parsha was scared because he was about to meet Esav, it wasn't scared like you and I, if we were to be walking down a dark alley and this guy that was 8 feet tall and 12 feet wide were walking at us. We're scared for our safety. Yaakov wasn't scared for his safety. Yaakov, it says he was scared. I don't want to lose merits. I want to see that my merits are preserved. I don't want to lose merits for any miracles. I want to understand that everything comes from Hashem. And therefore, in the darkest of times, Yaakov, when he's meeting his arch enemy, his brother who's trying to kill him for the first time, Yitzchak, when he has this terrifying moment of realization that he might have messed up and given the brachas to the wrong son, Abraham, when he had just lost his wife and the only way to get a burial plot was by haggling, when it's exactly at that point in time that the Torah tells us, Kol. These people had this level of spirituality that they had everything. They were so connected. It didn't faze them in a spiritual sense. They didn't have questions and wonder, why is God doing this and why is this happening? No, this is all from Hashem. The sun coming up, the splitting of the sea, these interactions, the positive, the negative, everything comes directly from Hashem. So the Gemara telling us that there were 3 people that God gave them a taste of the next world, gave it to them in this world. Most of us will only come to that recognition in the next world, when we see, so to speak, behind the behind the tapestry, and we can understand God's inner workings and why he did things the way he did. So then that makes sense. I see God. Now I understand that it's hard for us in this world. But Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, they were able to taste that already, even in this world. We started off a question at the beginning of our parsha. Yaakov sends malachim. And it says, why did he send malachim? Why angels? If he sent people, say, Vayishlach Yaakov Anoshim, say people. And if he sent angels, isn't he worried about losing his merits? And the answer is that Yaakov, because he was on this madreg, he was on this level of kol, like the Orach Chaim HaKodesh is explaining to us, malachim and people are no different. A person only loses merits when they rely on miracles, and miracles occur because that's how we perceive it. We perceive that this miracle is something unique. Oh, you finally realize me, Hashem says, okay, it's going to cost a little bit. But if a person lives in this world like Yaakov, like Abraham, like Yitzchak, and realizes that everything comes from Hashem, So then it's not going to charge anything, not going to cost anything. You don't lose merits for recognizing the miracle of the sun rising in the morning and the grass growing and the birds chirping. That's not something that we lose merits for. So for Yaakov, it can be people and it's like angels. It can be angels and it's like people. It doesn't matter because each of those options is just as equally meaningful. Whether he sends people or he sends angels, he understands that everything that occurs is directly from Hashem. Hopefully, we should be able to take this lesson that the Orach Chaim HaKadosh is teaching us about, of Bakol Mikol Kol, that these blessings that we daven for at the end of our benching, every time we bench, we say, Hashem, bless us like you blessed Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, that you gave them this madrega. They were able to attain this level of kol, of spirituality, where they realized everything came from Hashem. All our sustenance, all our income, all our efforts, everything that we do, everything that occurs around us is directly from Hashem. That's the bracha that we ask for when we bench at the end of our benching. That's what the Gemara is telling us is a taste of the next world that Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov had with kol, with this idea, this spirituality, the level of spirituality that the Orach Chaim is teaching us about. And that's why it says, Vayishlach Yaakov Malachim, it was angels, it was people, it didn't matter. To Yaakov was all the same. Everything was just as miraculous as the next, and it wouldn't make a difference how he was going to send that message. Thank you all so much for coming. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'll try to answer.
Yeshua, thank you very much, Rabbi.
Thank you.
Yeah. I wonder, thinking of, it seemed like the superficially negative things that each of the avot had, before they call me kol. It seems like some element of that is that shlemut, I guess, that to be able to, I'm not sure, live with it or be at peace with what they had been handed, to reconcile themselves to it in some sense.
Yeah, it's important because Abraham, when his wife died, by that Abraham went, the Torah tells us he was Vayetzacharn Livkos Lisara Lispod Lisara V'Livkosa. He cried for her. Right? There is an emotional response. Yeah, Abraham was a loving husband and he had a loving wife. And when she left this world, he cried. He eulogized her. It was heartfelt and it was meaningful. It is possible that even with feeling a loss, we can still be connected to Hashem in a sense that we understand that it's still coming from him. That's the depth of it, really. That's how deep it goes. Even through the loss, even through the tears coming down, he was able to somehow still, this is all from Hashem. I don't understand it. Maybe I'm not feeling it as 100% as I could now, but I see that that's coming from Hashem. And this is somehow all part of the plan, all for the good, however you want to say it. Right? It's not to say that Abraham Yitzchak, they were cold and insensitive to their situations, and it didn't register to them on an emotional level. Of course it did. Of course they understood. But in spite of that, or because of that, maybe they were still able to connect to Hashem in these, let's call them darker times. Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you everybody for coming. Have a wonderful Shabbos, and hopefully we'll see you next week.
Shabbat shalom.
Be well.
Shalom, Shabbat shalom. Thank you very much.